Saturday morning, John Chapman is in the house. It's time for the dual stream. Can the Niners run their record to 4-0? The return of Brock Purdy. Can the Niner defense step up? Can the Niner offensive line block this Jacksonville defensive line? This is starting to sound like a beginning to a Batman episode. Will the Cape Crusader... Off and running Saturday morning on the Krug Show. John Chapman in the house for the dual stream. Hope everybody's having a great one. Welcome. Tomorrow, Niners and Jaguars go in Santa Clara. Week 4 in the NFL. Can the Niners run their record to 4-0? And have they been an impressive 4-0? Is it impressive, or is it just, it is what it is? We'll talk about it. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out there in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them Krug sent you. And this football season on the Krug Show is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use the promo code Larry and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right. We titled the stream Jaguars Niners Week 4. Who has the edge in this Week 4 matchup? And John, we'll start right there. How do you see Niners Jaguars? What kind of matchup do you think this is going to be?
I think this is two top quality defensive units, to be honest with you. The Jaguars, their defense is awesome. The 49ers defense has been great so far. They're doing it in different ways. Jaguars lead the NFL in forced turnovers, averaging 3 turnovers a game through 3 weeks. They lead the NFL, whereas the 49ers don't even have an interception. So doing it in completely different ways, but both defenses have these teams on a winning record. Jaguars are 2-1, 49ers are 3-0. And I think that's what it's going to come down to, right? Which offense can have sustained success, don't turn the ball over, and, you know, get some points up on the board. I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I love the fact that Brock Purdy is back this week. I really, really do. I know Mac Jones has been incredible filling in for back-to-back weeks, but seeing number 13, you know, being able to take those snaps, I think that is just such a big difference maker in this game.
The one thing I'm going to be looking for, is Brock Purdy, or is Brock Purdy just a guy who was sitting there with an injured toe who now saw his backup win 2 games and decided, man, I better get out there? Because escapability is a big part of Brock Purdy's value proposition. And if he can't escape from Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker, then it's not an upgrade. You know, because his whole thing is I hang out in the pocket, I can process, and then when the Niners offensive line gives up a pressure, I can get out of there and I can run. And if he can't get out of there and he can't run, he's going to take a sack, and there's going to be more negative plays, and I would imagine more injuries. So, you know, we're going to find out, right? We're going to find out. I know he wants to play. I know Max won the last couple of games, and I know Brock wants to play, but the Brock that I saw in practice this week doesn't look like 100%. So
my question to that would be, what about Mac Jones? Because he's banged up now too.
Yeah.
So like how much of this is, okay, well, my backup's winning games, and how much of it is, man, Mac Jones, who escapability is nowhere near Brock Purdy, is also banged up. So that's where it gets kind of weird, because both your quarterbacks are dinged.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like we talked to Shanahan this week, and he's like, Brock is feeling better each day. Should be good to go for Sunday. And then Friday, he's like, yeah, he's going to go on Sunday. And then and with Mac, who's been practicing all week, he's like, the only thing he told us, really, he's not as ready as Brock. I mean, you know, it's like, okay.
Shanahan's going to Shanahan. He's like the Riddler, I swear, of coach press conferences when it comes to injuries. We'll stick with the Batman theme. Riddle me this, Batman. Uh, the injury report is always a mess. And Larry, I kind of want to tilt this just a little bit. And I think probably the next biggest injury next to the quarterback position is Renardo Green. Like, what happens? Renardo Green didn't practice. What happens if Renardo Green does not go? Is it Chase Lucas? Is it Darrell Luter? Do you want either one of those guys up against Brian Thomas Jr.?
Well, I mean, there's two questions there. One is, what's up with Renardo? Is it physical only, or is he being benched? Because he has gotten beat pretty bad. He doesn't look as good this year as last year. I don't know if there's been regression, if he's injured or what, but teams are going at him. They're not going at Stout as much. They're not going at Lenore as much. They're going at Renardo. So has he regressed, or is he just hurt? Is he in their doghouse? I don't know.
He has not trusted his technique at all through 3 games. And so, Renardo usually plays his best versus the bigger physical wide receivers. Brian Thomas is big, but he's not physical. And so this is, a matchup that I'm really, really concerned about anyway. Brian Thomas likes to play on the left. He's going to be matched up not against Diamador Lenore as much as Renardo Green if he is healthy. But, man, if that's going to be Darrell Luter Jr., I mean, this is a big sway moment. The cornerback position was one of the least depth positions going into free agency. They didn't really address it. Going into the draft, they didn't draft another outside corner. Like, the 49ers kind of have just left this position and said, look, it's Diamador Lenore, it's Renardo Green, then there's a chasm, and then we're just going to kind of throw bodies at it. This has been one of my major concerns all offseason. And so if Renardo Green's not going, I'm just saying that's high alert time, because you're going against one of the better outside wide receivers in the NFL with guys. Darrell Luter Jr. hasn't played, and Chase Lucas hasn't played outside corner, and most of his snaps have come in the nickel. This is an area of major concern that I don't think is being talked about near enough.
No, I think you're right. I think that's a good point. I mean, there's a lot of angles on this game that are really, up in the air. It's like, Brian Thomas at some point. Brian Thomas Jr. had 10 touchdowns last year. He's got, I think, 6 receptions this year. And he's got a bunch of drops. I think he leads the team in drops. So, he's going to bust out. The question is it going to be this week? That this game, I think, is really scary, just largely because of that right there. Just because you do have a Jacksonville offense. I mean, Shanahan said it. Liam Cohn, the one thing that separates him is that his teams run the ball well. And I asked Shanahan, why do they run the ball well? What is it about what they do that is good about the run game? He just says they stick with it. They stick with it. They're not going to go away from it immediately. They're going to stick with it throughout the day. And, so Cohen shows up as a first-year head coach, offensive / play caller, because he is the play caller. And now suddenly Travis Etienne and Bashul Tutin and LaQuint Allen are making up one of the NFL's better rushing attacks behind a line that's, not considered awesome by any stretch. You have Walker Little at left tackle, Anton Harrison at right tackle. They're not bad, but I mean, they're not the best tackles in football. So, they're running the ball, and then they've got Brian Thomas. They've got a home run hitter in Travis Hunter, and you've got a big-armed mobile quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So, yeah, on paper, the Jaguars don't look like a great team, but then you look closer and you're like, well, wait a second. Offensively, if they can run the ball, and they've been able to, and they're not giving up sacks of Trevor Lawrence because he's getting the ball out fast, and then defensively, they've got Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker off the edges, Eric Armstead and Davon Hamilton inside. It's not bad.
No.
And then, they've got some decent players in the secondary. Jordan Lewis comes over from Dallas. He's playing the nickel. He's a huge play guy. He's already got 2 picks and a forced fumble. So Jordan Lewis has played really well. So they have 9, good defenses defend the run and the pass. Great defenses take the ball away. If you want to look at the best defenses at the end of the year, the teams that usually surprise are the teams that have a defense that takes the ball away. And that's what Jacksonville's doing. They've got 3 takeaways in each of the first 3 games. They lead the NFL with 9 takeaways. They lead the NFL with 7 interceptions. So it's a really good football team on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, it's not a consistent unit, but they stretch you, they stress you out because they've got so much speed with their weapons. So I think this is going to be a very challenging game. Then you take away Nick Bosa, and you give the Niners a banged up Renardo Green, and suddenly this looks like a very challenging game.
They're a good football team. There's no doubt about that. They're well coached. I would give the nod to the 49ers coaching staff and the roster in general to the 49ers, even with the Bosa, with the Renardo Green, with, what's going on with, Juwan Jennings. Is he going to play? Whatever. But you look at who the Jaguars have played, and this is no fault of their own. You play who's on your schedule. The 49ers have a weak schedule as well, but they played the Carolina Panthers. They got beat by the Bengals and a backup quarterback that just came off the bench and diced them up for 31 points. And then they beat the Texans, who I think have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. So the quarterback play that they've gone against has not been great, but Brock Purdy hasn't really, he hasn't played in 2+ weeks. So that's there as well. The 49ers should be able to control this game. But if you dip into and give the Jaguars hope and you get a turnover early and you fall into a deficit, you abandon the running game. These are all things that we've seen take place in this 49ers Kyle Shanahan era. That's where it could get dicey. But if you stay on track and ahead of the chains and the score's close at the first half, the 49ers are turning into a second half team, Larry. Like, when was the last time the 49ers were kind of coined as a fourth quarter come from behind type team? They keep doing it. And so, you're getting a little bit of a change where there were always the front runners and they jump out to these early leads. Teams would fight back, but, the 49ers would usually come out on top. A little bit of a different gritty performance in this idea of we're not going to lose late, no matter what. That Cardinals game, you're down 15-13. It really felt like that was going to be an L whenever it was, 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, but they pulled it out. So is this 49ers team developing a little bit different prescription to get these victories? And dude, I'm all for this fourth quarter grittiness. Every game feels like a playoff game, and they're fighting to the death at the end of the whistle. I'm hoping that continues versus this Jags team.
The first big question was who's going to start at quarterback. They're going with Brock Purdy, it sounds like, and Shanahan indicated that yesterday. I was at practice all week. Now, I'm not talking to these guys about how they feel. I'm just watching them. But I kind of felt like Brock looked good on Friday, but going into Friday, I still felt he was leaving some passes up high. He definitely looked like the toe was a little tender.
That's scary.
I don't know, but I know he's the starting quarterback, and once it's all about him, and does he? As soon as he says, "Hey, I'm ready to go," then all of a sudden he's back in there. But I mean, what do you expect him to say? His backup just won the last 2 games. I think this sets up for Brock rushing back. And what if he doesn't play great? Then all of a sudden, is it going to be this evaluation of, hey, is he still hurt? Is he rusty? Was it Jacksonville? Should they have gone back to him? I mean, it's so quickly. Then it becomes this referendum on his play, on his health. So the thing to me, the quarterback discussion, I think potentially could get very messy going forward. Right now, they got a great vibe, right? Brock was out. He helped Mac intently. Mac said, this guy's my best friend on the team. Mac's like, hey, I hope he gets back in there next week. So, all the vibes are good. I'm sure Brock would have been pissed at Shanahan and Lynch if they said, no. You need another week or 2. He probably would have been pissed about that. But they're the boss and he's the employee. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't know how Mac was feeling. Maybe Mac's knee's feeling terrible. But I was looking at it this way. Brock is the guy. It's not about your backup. It's about Brock. So if he does have a turf toe, and we just saw Joe Burrow exacerbate his turf toe, you're 3-0 at home against Jacksonville with your backup quarterback just winning the last 2 games. Why wouldn't you give Brock an extra few days to rest, knowing that you play Thursday? So he hasn't played in a couple weeks, and now he's going to do this Sunday, Thursday thing where he plays 2 games in 4 days. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, man,
weird.
but it seems to me to be reckless with your starting quarterback. If they have to go back to Mac Jones because of this turf toe injury having a recurrence, then they rushed him back too soon. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's not just the toe; it's the shoulder as well, right? Like it's not just a one and. If he goes out there and re-aggravates the shoulder, that enters into the equation too. But I think the way that the Shanahan and the 49ers look at this is, look, division games are everything. I don't want Brock coming back after 3 weeks missing for that LA game on a short week. I want Brock feeling confident and ready to go in what could arguably be the most important game left on the schedule for the 49ers, week 5 on the road in SoFi. And you win that game, you're 3-0 in the division. You're at worst 4-1. This Jaguars game, and I know coaches don't really think like this, but it's the least important game on the schedule. It's not a division game. It's not a conference game. It does not apply to any of the tiebreakers besides just divisional record itself. So, man, let's figure out, because we know what Matt can do. All right. But we want Brock. Brock is the quarterback of the future. There's no doubt about that. Like, it's Brock's show no matter what. But I want him to feel confident going into that Rams game, because that game is everything. That's for the NFC West. That's for, you're talking playoff seeding. That is everything. And remember, this team last year had one divisional win the entire season. You've already doubled that. You're up 2-0 in the division with the win against the Cardinals and at Seattle, which looks like a huge quality win. That Thursday game, if Brock's going to be Brock, we got to see it this week. That short turnaround is going to be rough, though, on those bodies. No doubt about it.
I just, it's like, if it really is a turf toe, why wouldn't you be extra careful? And you have a backup quarterback you're winning games with.
Yeah, but they keep saying it's not turf toe, right? They're like, well, it's not turf toe. It's a toe injury and a ligament injury, but this is the Shanahan again. He's the Riddler. Like, he's going to confuse everybody and say whatever, but we're going to find out pretty damn soon, because that defense for the Jaguars putting out there, if Brock Purdy's hobbled and not stepping into his throws, you're going to find out really damn quick.
One of the poll questions I put out this week, I put out 2 poll questions, and I'd love to have you weigh in on them. I said the 49ers are 3-0 mostly due to what or who? And the options I gave were Robert Saleh, their quarterback play, CMC, and a soft schedule. Robert Saleh won. I would have thought their quarterback play would have been a close second, but the soft schedule was second. And CMC, they're just fully taking him for granted at this point. He's just like, oh, yeah, and he was there too. If I said that to you, 49ers are 3-0 mostly due to...
Yeah, I'm going Robert Saleh. You have 5 defensive stops in the fourth quarter to win the game. In these 3 games, he did it twice versus the Saints. He did it twice versus the Cardinals. The only ones that gave up points this last fourth quarter was the offense with the safety. And so, yeah, coaching, easy schedule, blue chip players. That is the formula the 49ers have signed up for in 2025. And Christian McCaffrey fits in that. Trent Williams is playing incredibly well these last 2 weeks. Fred Warner, I think, is the best player in all of football. And so those are like coaching, easy schedule, blue chip players. But the quarterbacks, like, that has been a shock. Who would have guessed Mac Jones comes in and just dicing teams up, playing great? That turnover late kind of cost them and made the game closer than it should have been. But I think you hit the nail on the head whenever you're talking about, like, why these teams are winning, why the 49ers have won thus far. Robert Saleh's got to be at the forefront. I think Kyle Shanahan's been calling pretty good games as well, with, all the injuries, and only had 2 offensive weapons last game, CMC and Pearsall, and a bunch of decoys. It still got the job done. Still had more first downs, way more total yards, all that stuff. So Coaching, blue chip players, easy schedule. That's the trifecta for the 49ers. Can that continue this year?
All right. So you have Robert Saleh as the key. Now there's obviously, Robert Saleh. I do remember Robert Saleh pre-Bosa when people were like, get him the hell out of here. Because they didn't get results until they had Bosa. And suddenly he wasn't very smart until he had Bosa. Then all of a sudden he became very smart. Then he became really, really smart and became a head coach because Bosa was really, really good. But before he had Bosa, it was like Robert Saleh stinks. Let's get rid of Robert Saleh. People forget that. So now he doesn't have Bosa. What's he going to do? How are they going to replace Bosa? How are they going to internally do it? Externally do it? What's the plan? What would be your plan to replace Bosa?
Well, I would say this. The reason why Robert Saleh got the head coaching job, Bosa was a big part of it, but it was that 2020 defensive performance when Bosa got hurt week 2. And you turned Kerry Hyder into 9.5 sacks, and you were getting pressure with literally at Robert Blair. You remember like Ronald Blair was out. Like you still had some players. You had Eric Armstead. You had a lot of other whatever, but that was the year that it got special. So what I would argue that the way to approach this without Nick Bosa is that NASCAR package. You've got to have the rookies continue to step up, which they have done very, very well. You're looking at what Michael Williams has done. His snap count's gone up. You're looking at Alfred Collins, man. Did you see his goal line stops that he made on the goal line was incredible. He's up to 31 snaps a game. CJ West, he's got the thumb issue. He's going to be out for a little while. But, man, Eter Gross-Matos, can he step up? Sam O's going to be a starter. Sam Okuwado, who is an undrafted free agent from 2 years ago, transplant, that dude's going to be starting for you. He's going to be in that Kerry Hyder role. I don't think I would bet on 9.5 sacks or anything like that for him. But the one thing about Sam O that is consistent, he does his damn job and he hustles every single play he's out there. He does not take anything for granted. Is he a playmaker? No. There is no Nick Bosa on this roster. So you're going to have to do it with the cast of characters, and you're going to have to scheme it up. You stop this run, you force team into a lot of third and longs with those simulated pressures with, Fred Warner and D Winters and those A gaps and bailing out and the zone fire zones that he's been doing. It's going to have to be that. But I'll rely on this. We talked about the schedule. The quarterbacks that you play, Trevor Lawrence is not a great quarterback, Larry. Like, he's not been quality. He's not a top 10 quarterback by any stretch. I know he's got all the tools, but he's not a good quarterback. Now, next week, the next 2 weeks after this, you've got Matthew Stafford and Baker Mayfield. Those are the two best quarterbacks you play all season. So this little stretch where you're trying to figure out, do you add somebody before the trade deadline or whatever? You're not going to do that before the Rams game on a short week. I doubt you're going to do it before the Bucs. So we're going to find out super quick if Robert Saleh is up to the task with the personnel at hand without Bosa. And if not, that's where the fans are going to start going crazy with like, all right, we got to get a premium edge rusher in here before the trade deadline. But the test is now. So Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, you're going to find out pretty quick if Robert Saleh and this defense is ready.
One of the things that Saleh said was he doesn't want to change everybody. He doesn't want to move all these guys around. It's like, I think they've got a lot of good things going on up front. So I get the feeling that he is kind of in that mode of like, hey, you know what? Let's just change out Bosa for whatever we're going to do. Let's not try to change, move 5 guys around and have a bunch of guys out of position. So like I've heard people say, well, they're going to take Mikel, they're going to make him play. I don't know. I mean, right now, I think I would try to find somebody else who could play defensive end on first and second down, opposite Huff, and leave Mikel in his spot, opposite. Basically it was Huff, it was Mikel and Bosa on first and second down at defensive end. Now it's going to be Mikel and somebody else. It can't be Mikel and Mikel. So I mean, they're going to have to, and it probably can't be Huff. So
yeah, probably not early. I think it's going to be Sam O. I think you're
Sam O. Maybe Eter Gross-Matos, or maybe some combination.
They want it to be Eter, right? What did Shanahan say about Eter? Like, he's not going to practice Wednesdays for the rest of the year. Like, they are 100% just trying to keep his knee from flaring as much as possible. And that my biggest concern, Larry, isn't so much that Bosa's out. You are scary depth is about to become an issue at the defensive end like it is the quarterback position. Because if Eter Gross-Matos does go down, who's only practicing once a week right now you're in trouble. So, like, the depth is a concern, but that's because they didn't approach depth this free agency. They didn't go out there and get veteran quality depth across the defensive line. They approached it all with rookies and kind of what you had in the building, and that's a concern for me. I'm concerned about that. You have one more injury in that defensive end room, and you are in trouble.
So, what's the long-term plan? Do you want to try to do this internally? Do you want to try to sign a free agent, a Carl Lawson type? Do you want to go try to poach a practice squad guy? I mean, to me, there's there's three if you want to say Cleve Farrell. I'm not a big Cleve Farrell guy, but they love their guys who they've had in the past, and they've had him in the past. But I like Mo Kamara from Tampa Bay, and I really like K'Mon Rucker from Baltimore, and they're both defensive ends who are on practice squads right now. That's the direction I would go before I would even consider trading draft capital for anybody in the at the trade deadline, because I think your trades probably have to wait at least 3-4 weeks.
Right. Nobody's selling right now, even if they're 0-3, until coaches get fired, till coordinators get fired, till GMs start to get released. Not that I'm hoping for those things, but like until that happens, teams are selling. You saw Steve Wilkes with the comment Baker made about him. Did you get to see that? Where Baker's like, well, that guy cut me. And Steve Wilkes like, well, I'm not sure how much personnel choice the interim head coach has. If I did, I wouldn't have traded our best player, Christian McCaffrey, to the 49ers. Like, until teams are in sell mode, which isn't going to happen until about week 5 or 6. And that's the thing. Like, again, you've got Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield. You've got these three offenses that are doing relatively well. I mean, obviously the Rams are, and obviously the Bucks are. You're going to get to see what in-house gets you. And if you do claim some of those guys, which I love Mo Kamara. I remember him coming out of Colorado State. We were both really high on him, the edge rusher. But if you claim them off the practice squad, who are you going to release? You have Travis Gibson. You have William Bradley King on your practice squad as is. You claim one of those guys. I like Robert Beal Jr. I think he's good against the run, and he's a quality special teamer. And that has been the paramount focus of Robert Saleh, is stopping the run at all costs. Robert Beal Jr. can play the run well. They drafted him as a pass rusher. It never really worked out, but he's a quality special teamer. He can stop the run. The guys you brought up were more pass rushers. Do you like them more than Travis Gibson on your practice squad? Do you like them more than William Bradley King on your practice squad? That's the evaluation process. Where do you have those guys slotted, Larry?
Well, I mean, I like them. I think they're decent talents, but I don't think that they're difference makers by any stretch. I mean, I think the move this week was call Robert Beal Jr. off the practice squad. And I think that is just simply they're going to promote Sam O to Bosa's starting spot. And then they saw that Sam O has played a bunch of snaps on special teams. So they're going to take their best. They're trying to prioritize special teams as well. So they're going to take their best special teams option, Beal, promote him, then hopefully get an upgrade on special teams, because you're putting a real good special teams player out there, and then just ask Sam O to be Bosa as much as he can. And I think leave everybody else in the same spot. I think that's probably their initial plan, and it may work okay. It may not be that bad. Then there's always the trade market. I mean, some of the speculation that I've heard just sounds totally crazy. It's like Daniel Jeremiah is pretty respected voice. I saw him on with Guy Haberman. I mean, he was respected until he said what he thought Trey Hendrickson would go for. And then it's like, well, dude, he's wrong. I mean, it's like, he's like, Trey Hendrickson will go for a 3rd round pick and a day 3 pick. Well, then there has to be then there's going to be some kind of lottery for him, because every team in football that needs any rush at all is going to be willing to pay that price. So how do you differentiate between 7 teams that are all willing to give you a 3rd round pick and a day 3 pick? Sounds to me that it's not going to be a third-round pick. Sounds to me like just on supply and demand that this player would probably go for a 2. But what do I know? The trade markets are a little bit deflated. It's not really, the NFL executives value players, but they value picks almost more than they value players, because picks are, freedom and the ability to build. So I don't know. I mean, if if what I've heard is right and Trey Hendrickson can be had for a third and a day 3 pick, then yeah. Oh, then no brainer. Trade for Trey Hendrickson, bring him in here, and maybe you're not even downgrading from Bosa. Maybe you're upgrading because this guy's been better than Bosa. So I don't really believe that price, and I don't know if the Niners can get this deal done. And I don't know if the Niners will spend the money to get this deal done. Will they look at Hendrickson and just say, you know what? He blows up our cap. We can't have another $35 million rusher. We're already paying Bosa, and that's a dubious decision to pay him that much. I don't know. It's a weird thing because, we've seen some quarterbacks in the last couple of years get in the playoffs and then just get rid of the ball, like 2-step drop, here it comes, and just totally neutralize the best pass rushers in the game. So, or do the Niners? I mean, the Niners are pretty far down this road. We're committing everything to our defensive line. Are they going to commit even more assets, draft capital, and cap room to defensive line, only to have it negated by a 2-step drop and a quick release? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the Bengals are selling right now, right? And so we're looking down the line. They're in first place by a full game. And I know they're backup quarterback, but they went 4-3 with the same backup quarterback Jacob Brown in the last time Burrow went down. So I don't think they're selling. That front office is weird anyway. But if teams are going to do this 2-step approach, get the ball out, which you saw Seattle do, you're definitely going to see the Rams do. Like, everything that Matthew Stafford is doing right now is, look, get the ball out of his hands quick. And it's working for him because they have the wide receivers to do it. They have the running game to do that. That's okay. Like, I think Robert Saleh, the 49ers, would sit there and say, look, awesome. Because if we're playing that shell, that too high, cover 6, quarters defense, we're going to rally a tackle underneath. And the 49ers are a pretty good tackling team this year. So if teams are just going to keep doing that quick, get the ball out, whatever, that's fine. And Robert Saleh, if you step into Robert Saleh's mind and you said, look, the opposing team's just got a 2-step drop, get the ball out quick. How do you feel about that? Robert Saleh's going to say, hell yeah, we'll rally a tackle. Can they execute that way 15 plays down the drive 5 times a game? I don't think that they can against this defense, because if they make one mistake and get behind the chains, that's where we're going to pounce on them. So the NFL's getting that way. You're seeing Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, so many of these teams that just dink and dunk, throw a fade, dink and dunk, throw a fade. That is what the NFL is turning into because of all these Fangio-style shell defenses that are forcing teams to check the ball down. Teams just take what you give them. And I hope that the Niners continue to play that trend as well, because when the Niners, when they dink and dunk, man, things go smooth. It's when they start chunking the ball down the field where it starts getting a little dicey. So we'll see. I'm signing up right now, Larry. If you say teams, that's how they're going to approach the 49ers to get the ball out quick, sign me up, because I think that this defense is built to stop that, personally.
My other Twitter poll question this week was 49ers' most pressing issue. What is it? Pass rush, the O-line, they're 29th in run block win rate. The red zone offense, McCaffrey's got 13 carries for 7 yards in the red zone. They can't run at all. Or the fact that they're still 28th in special teams DVOA. What's the most pressing issue to you?
I think 2 of those are kind of one and the same, the red zone and the offensive line. The interior offensive line play is pretty rough. From a pass blocking perspective, it's okay. From a run blocking perspective, Jake Brindle, Dominique Pudi has not been himself. I think he's injured and played through it because he's tough as hell. So is Jake Brindle. And then the left guard, it didn't matter if it's Ben Barch, Connor Colby. He's a rookie. He's going to go through some growing pains. You're losing that battle on the inside consistently in the run game. Jake Brindle has no blocking functional strength to maintain blocks for more than one count. And so I don't care what all the PFF or EPA or whatever say. You watch the tape, you see 64-year center get blown up at the line of scrimmage back to back to back plays in a red zone and completely crush a drive by himself. That's going to be an issue. And so, yeah, he can pass block. He can make the right calls. He's tough and he's cheap. And so, like, I'm not saying all issues are with Jake Brindle because you're getting what you're paying for, but that interior offensive line is the weakness of this team. That is the issue. And that's why the run game is not doing what it's doing. Teams aren't even loading the blocks against the 49ers. You're seeing a lot of too high safeties. It's not because you're running against 8 and 9 man boxes. There are some of those. I'm not saying they're not there, but that interior offensive line has been a mainstay weakness through 3 weeks so far. Don't expect that to change against Eric Armstead in his homecoming game this week.
You know, I was looking at some of those numbers. I mean, McCaffrey ran against stacked boxes like 36% of the time in 2023. That number's 19%
exactly
this year. It's not that they're loading the box and that's it. They've loaded the box more in the past than they're loading it right now. It's just the 49ers have a hard time opening holes, period, in the interior. Now, Colby's got an excuse. He's hurt. Pooney's, regressed maybe. Brendel, we've been told, is really, really good, but I don't know, man.
You're getting what you paid for.
I don't know if he's really, really good. It seems that it doesn't seem like he's really, really good. I mean, is that just me or?
It's not just you. People got gaslighted because of a PFF grade, but here's how PFF grades. And here's the thing about Jake Brindle. He will get to his point that he's supposed to get to every single play, and he will stay there for exactly one count. But then he gets tossed aside and watches his guy make the tackle against the 49ers. His guy has made more plays than any other defender. Whoever Brindle's blocking will make the tackle almost every single play. But he gets there and he blocks very well for one count, and then he gets thrown to the side because he stands straight up, and then his guy makes the tackle. Well, PFF grades that as a positive. And so there's a flaw in the offensive line grading system and the EPA and whatever else. Watch the tape. You'll see whoever 64 is blocking make the play in those red zone goal line situations, 3rd and short, 4th and 1, time and time again. Now, week 2 against the Saints, Jake Brindle had one of the best games of his career. That was awesome. But it still wasn't. His guy was still making the play a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty clear. I mean, I'd love to say that the Niner offensive line is improved. I take no joy in bashing this 49er offensive line. If it seems tired, what's tired is their, inability to improve their offensive line for years and years and years. I mean, the Niners are 3-0, right? And yet, if you look closely, there's issues here. They're 28th in special teams DVOA. They cannot run. They're the only team in the NFL to score a rushing touchdown. Their run block win rate is 29th in the NFL. Their stuffed run percentage, which is another good interior rushing stat, 31st in the NFL. And they're better as far as pass blocking. The pressure rate allowed is top 3, but the pass block win rate is 22. So the Niners offensive line is not moving people. It's showing up dramatically in the red zone, as John mentioned. The 3 games CMC has played so far, he's 13 carries for 7 yards in the red zone.
That's probably the most damning thing that you've said, which is.
Yeah. And I asked Kubiak about it, and he gave me a look like, how dare you ask me that question? I want to look back and be like, how dare you have such a crappy red zone rushing attack? But he's like, well, we're close and this and that. But that's just talk. Philly is 8 for 8 in the red zone. They've had 8 trips to the red zone. They've scored 8 touchdowns. The 49ers rank 3rd lowest in the NFL in points per red zone trip. 3rd worst red zone offense in football this year. 49ers.
And look, you talked about the 49ers are the only team in the NFL to not draft an offensive tackle or a center in the last 4 consecutive drafts. The 49ers haven't drafted a center since Marcus Martin, Larry. Do you remember him out of USC?
Yes.
Like that was decades ago, man.
That's
like
a long time ago.
You've got to invest in these positions, and they have chosen not to do so. The only position that they have actually gone after is the guard position, and I love Dominic Pooney, and he's playing through something. But you've drafted guards. Something's got to pay dividends at some point. So you've got to out-scheme. And that's why this 2025 49ers offense is going to be different. One of my favorite prop bets this week is Brock Purdy over 32 pass attempts. You're turning it into a pass-first team right before our eyes. And you're doing that with just Ricky Pearsall and Christian McCaffrey out there. That's with no George Kittle. That's with no Juwan Jennings. That's with no Brandon Ayuk. They are turning into a pass-happy team. I think that's going to continue. And I think that's the way to beat this Jacksonville team, strangely enough. I think the safeties you can take advantage of. I think the corners are good in run support. But, yeah, you got to protect the ball because they will get their turnovers. But this Jacksonville team is not easy to run against.
They have 6 sacks as well. So they're 10th in Jacksonville's 10th in total defense, 5th against the run, 16th against the pass. So they have 6 sacks, but they also lead the NFL with seven interceptions. So they get their hands on a lot of footballs. They better take care of it. I think that's really interesting, though, what you just said about Purdy, that the over on 32 pass attempts is probably the prop of the week. Yeah. They're going to – because – and it's not – they would love to pound the run, I'm sure, but – the Niners' rushing offense is 26th in the NFL. Their passing offense is number 1.
And that's going to continue. It especially Demarcus Robinson coming back this week. I'm sure he's not going to get a full slate of snaps. He hasn't practiced with the team in a month. But now you have an option. DeMarcus, and you were at the practices. Number 5, whoever the quarterback was throwing to number 5 day in and day out at training camp. He was the reliable target almost all of training camp and preseason. So, now that you're getting that option back, is Juwan Jennings going to play this week? That would be huge as well. Kendrick Bourne more time in the playbook. You're starting to get back some of these options, and you get George Kittle back in, just over a week's time because you play next Thursday. Things are going to start to pick up on this offense, and I think they're going to become more efficient. But I do think it's going to become a pass-first kind of offense, which we've seen through 3 weeks so far.
It is time for our big finish on the show here. We're going to have a quicker show. I am going over to KMBR today, but we have our Habas Law. We'll take the comment down for just a second. Sorry, negativity, Ehrenberg. Habas Law is a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Today's show is sponsored by Habas Law. For more than 40 years, Omar Habas and son Tarek have been standing up for people right here in Northern California. They're great attorneys, and they're official partners of the Giants, the Sharks, San Jose State, Santa Clara. But they take on insurance companies, and they beat insurance companies. They know the playbook. So if you need someone in your corner, call the firm the insurance companies are hoping you never call, and that's Habas Law. They will fight to make it right. Visit them on the web at habaslaw.com, HABBAS law.com. Habas Law, they will fight to make it right. 1-800-INJURED. Thanks to Habas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. You mentioned, the big finish here is that Robert Saleh kind of said that Liam Cohen and some of the assistants for the Buccaneers steal signs, and Cohen responded by saying, and it's funny, all the media were like, do you think he should have gone there, and all this stuff. It's like, very pro Liam Cohen, but Cohen basically smiled because he knows he's been caught red-handed. What'd you make of that back and forth? I mean, this is just a regular deal in the NFL where guys, there's a bunch of extra guys sitting in a booth, and they will take out binoculars and try to steal each other's signs and get as much intel as they possibly can. What do you make of that story?
One of my first coaching jobs was exactly that. We would follow our division rival around, and we would dress in normal clothes, and we would watch, their games, and we try to see their signs and try to decipher those, their adjustments. This is football 101. The only difference is Liam Cohen and that whole Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, all these guys do it. They're better at it than everybody else. They're the football savants in the NFL. Shanahan, not so much, because Shanahan's entire MO is, I don't give a damn what they do. We're going to do what we do, and that's going to work. But that's
Did you hear
not
Shanahan's response? He was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, well, that's what they have to do," or something like that. It was like,
yeah. It's. I love that. Like
That
a
was
lot of
pretty
people
arrogant.
dislike that arrogant aura, but I love that. That's what makes Kyle, right? And so you look at McVay, you look at KOC, they're going to find any adjustment that they could get an advantage there. And you put Liam Cohen in that school as well. Like, that's fine. Like, this is not news to any coach in the NFL. They all chuckled whenever they saw that. And, teams will create the bulletin board material that they want. And this is not news. This is news to people that are not around the coaching profession. This is normal. Jim Harbaugh's in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, exactly. When I was in the Canadian League, I was the defensive quality control guy. And all they said to me is, on game day, bring your best binoculars. Really. And then we got up into the booth, and it was like, you three guys, you're focused on this guy. You three guys, you're focused on that guy. You three guys, you're focused on this guy. Between these three guys, we know the signals are coming from some of them, and jot it down. And sure enough, by mid-second quarter or late first quarter, we had a pretty good feel for their signals and their signs. So believe me, this happens. That's the Canadian Football League in the mid-90s. It was happening in the Canadian League in the mid-90s. It's been happening other places, and like the NFL since. Two supers before we bowl. Ernberg's 34-10 Jags win. Niners offense, terrible. Defense gets cooked. All right, there you go. I do think it's going to be a challenging game. Anthony says, honestly, Larry, I don't give a shit who's the quarterback. Just win a fucking Super Bowl. Hashtag beat the Jags. Hashtag go Niners. Hashtag let's do it. Hashtag flex. And there's a football.
There we go. You got to win. You got to make it to the playoffs before you can win a Super Bowl. Week 4 is going to be pretty important to that.
That's a quick 45-minute stream today because I do have to run over to the radio from 10 to 11. So if you guys want to hear more breakdown on this game, join me over there. John, you got a big Saturday planned? What's on
Yeah, man,
top?
we got a wedding. The wife
is
nice. I'm going out to a wedding, and we're going to celebrate matrimony. We're going to do the whole thing. But I can't wait to see Fred Warner play football tomorrow. That's going to be the highlight of my week. I'm pretty excited. I'm to the point now where it's just like, man, we're watching greatness unfold in real time. And I hope that the 49ers fans just understand how great Fred Warner is. I truly do think he's one of the best, if not the best player in the NFL at this moment. So we get to enjoy greatness. 54 tomorrow. I'm pretty pumped about that.
Will you be tailgating?
No, I'm staying home this week. With all the road trips and everything, I'm trying to behave a little bit with the home crowd. And then, we'll be out in Tampa Bay here in about 2 weeks. So really pumped about that one.
Look at that. We'll help you promote that as it gets closer. Everybody check out John on Twitter. Tell people where they can find you on X.
Yeah, at JL_Chapman, or you can just type in John Chapman. We'll pull up. We're over there a little too much, and you'll see our crazy reaction tweets live during the game that are way too hot takey. But that's about the only time we get hot takey is during the game. But it's always a good time.
Good to see you, brother. Have a great week.
Thanks, Larry.
John Chapman in the house. That's going to do it for us. Go Niners. Join me on KNBR right now. I'll be back tomorrow on the pregame, the postgame, the Krug Show. We got a lot to get to. Niners, Jags.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.